Make sure you chow down on that Christmas Yule log because it is the business end of Game of the Year 2020. I'm your host, Adam Cook, introducing this podcast with aggression, with a fist bump, because today, and only today, for this year, we are going to rank the top 10. I ended it a bit weird yesterday, I apologise for that. The top 10 video games of all time in 2020. It is the best of the bestest. It is the Game of the Year. It is the GOTY hashtag top 10 list. As I say, I'm your host, Adam Cook. I'm joined by Christopher White.
Fuck my dick! Holy!
Yep.
Bring the energy, Chris. Bring the energy.
Adam Carroll's here too, if he can...
Can't top that.
No,
Can't top that.
well, you could, but you'd need to be in the same room. Christopher Hyde.
Hey.
Keep it going.
Hello, mate. You're right. I don't know what to say.
Mate. You can't speak with your mouth full, can you, Mick Fraser?
Gently manipulate my scrot. Welcome back.
If this is your first ever God is a Geek podcast...
Somebody threw the gauntlet down, then I heard it. So we
but that was
couldn't top it.
If this is your first God is a Geek podcast...
Yeah.
Kind of, that's about it, really. That's about right.
It's the standard.
We are. I haven't totaled it up at the time, but we must be over 10 hours into our Game of the Year podcast. It's
A long one.
It's a busy time. It's been a long one. Let's just stop. Let's just finish that there. Today we are, as I say, we're doing the top 10 of the list. In the past, we've done the most anticipated, but we're going to stop doing that for this year at least, because quite honestly, we're sick of going on about how we're really excited for this game and it just doesn't come out. And you know what? 2021 is looking a bit weird right now, in that there's a lot of games that are kind of nebulously announced as next year, and the rule's always been is that we need a release date or a window or something, and as it stands, like, the closest we can get to it is that we have heard that probably Gran Turismo and Ratchet and Clank are out early next year, but there's no dates for any even them. So Halo Infinite is fall 2021. So what we're going to do instead is this podcast, this finale of the week's celebration, is that top 10, and just that. Last year was a good year by the looks of it. Astral Chain, Super Mario Maker 2, Crash Team Racing, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry 5, Control, Gears 5, and A Plague Tale: Innocence were our top 10. That's some cracking games.
That's a year, isn't it?
It is a year. I'm just going to say, I reckon the top 10 this year might be better. Not that I know it yet, I mean what it ends up being. So we've got a short list that currently stands at 31 games. I'm sure we can cut some easily, but I do need to give the short list. Cyberpunk 2077, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, Astro's Playroom, Watch Dogs Legion, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Deep Rock Galactic, Spiritfarer, Dreams, Wasteland 3, Half-Life Alyx, Risk of Rain 2, Streets of Rage 4, The Last of Us Part 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've sort of become the Little Woods Pools man at this point, haven't I? I've just sort of part-way through it. That's an old one for you. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Doom Eternal, Ghost of Tsushima, Neo 2, Gears Tactics, Paper Mario, The Origami King, Journey to the Savage Planet, Resident Evil 3, Hades, Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Demon's Souls, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Desperados 3, and Bugsnax.
I hate that it's 31. I hate that there's an odd
Well, let's
number.
cut Bugsnax.
Just mean, can we not throw something
I
in
actually mean that. Let's cut Bugsnax. I'll just do it. I'll ruthless. I've got me Batman coffee. So Christmassy.
No, not yet. Dreams wasn't this year.
Official release wasn't it?
But then we argued this earlier, didn't we?
Yeah,
I
but then
don't
you could
remember.
get rid of Hades and you could get rid of Deep Rock Galactic.
All right,
Yeah,
then. Well, just get rid of Dreams because it's not in the best games of the year.
I mean, I'm absolutely fine with that.
Even though I did.
Even though you gave it a 10, didn't
10.
you?
No, but like what it is, it's incredible. But I haven't stepped foot on that.
Since. In it?
Since
You haven't been in
I
it?
haven't played that game since, so I can't be asked to spend hours making a picture or a level that lasts for 10 seconds. However, it's a perfect tool for those that want to.
It
and
is
the
a
stuff that has been
phenomenal.
done is amazing.
It is a phenomenal design tool.
It's not the best game.
It's not a
I
top
think
10
of the
best
year.
game of the year.
For us, I don't think it is.
No.
But that's all that matters, because
Indeed.
so bye bye dreams.
Can I just go in earlier?
Oh God, what am I doing? Yeah, sorry,
On
mate.
the list.
Yeah.
That you might not expect me to say, but I think we should just, on a list that you've just read out, and I'm listening to all these games, and I think you should cut. What do you think I'm going to say?
Ghosts.
Mate, there's
No.
30 games.
Fuck off.
30 games and you're asking us to have a random pick.
I don't know. I thought, oh God, is it going to do that?
No.
Cyberpunk.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye-bye. That
Chop it
saved that.
off.
Do you know?
I really like it, but you know what? You can't have a game
No,
that's that buggy.
not in
in
amongst
top
the other
10.
ones.
It's just not fair.
I think
It's
you
not
also
fair.
know that we're just not going to not allow it, because that sounds like you're like number 5 on the list here, but you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
mean,
but it's
I
not gonna
genuinely have a
happen, and I
cyberpunk
don't-
hat that I thought about wearing for this episode.
I don't want to. There's no way I'm going to argue any of you guys to have a space on that list. I fucking love it. I've said my piece about it throughout this
And your
entire
review, and
run.
you know,
the
and
review.
on the podcast.
It's done. It doesn't deserve a space on the list. Chop it. You can chop it. No one else is going to argue.
Do you want to chop it at this juncture?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going
Because
to argue with you. I kind of came ready to, and I feel a little bit like someone's
No, look,
just pulled my
you-
pants down and smacked my
I
bum
didn't
hole.
mean to
But
do
just my
that,
bum,
but-
in fact. Just my bum, not the
Typically
actual one.
smacking your bum hole.
They got a really small hand. It's the size of a little thumb.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I don't mean to
It's
give
like
you.
Deadpool's hand when it's grown back.
Yeah.
I don't want to
that's
give you
it.
Cyberpunk blue balls, but at the same time,
Oh, brilliant.
I think that even me looking at this list, there's 20 games on there I put on a top 10 before I put Cyberpunk on it, and I did give it a 10, and I love it. But
I mean, genuinely, I'm not going to argue with you. So
No,
it's up to
they're-
the others if they want it on the list.
Chris
Maybe
because I know
if
he's
it-
really loved it, but I know
maybe if
he
it was
hasn't got
released
through the.
Properly, and we'd
Yeah.
had time to
Oh fuck me! If it had
absorb
been
it.
released, if it had been released as a not bug free, but in a better state, I would be arguing for it. The only reason I'm saying to cut it is because it's not fair on some of the games on that list that have come out polished and ready, like things like Ghost of Tsushima or Immortals that have come out much stronger, much better. I don't think it's fair.
I
That's
didn't expect this less than 10 minutes in, but it does appear I'm cutting Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, agree.
I mean, if that is not a teaser for what's to come that I don't know where, the gloves
Keep
are
'em
well and
hooked,
truly
keep 'em
off
hooked.
and smacking bumholes seriously.
bum holes, blue balls, scropes, and so
The
we're on.
works. It's become proper puerile. That's fine.
I've got one.
Don't
Go on.
do-
I'm going to pick Doom Eternal. I think that.
Jesus.
Really?
I-
Wow.
No, I agree,
thought
but
that
I
would
just
be a
thought that would
contender.
be down the line.
Like, it just doesn't do anything that's really that different for me. Like, I still think it's a fucking great game.
I think it's
It's
worse
still-
than the previous one.
Well,
I preferred it to the
I
previous
would-
one by a
I wouldn't
fair
really say
margin,
that. I just think that like it's still it doesn't learn from its like mistakes, and I think like the game is too long. I think it kind of repeats some shit that is just like whatever. And I just think the element of surprise is not really there, because if you play 2016's Doom, it's all just like holy shit, this is just unreal. It looks amazing. Blah blah blah. Eternal is still it's a really cool game. It's fucking fast as balls. But it's not game of the year. We have to start cutting.
Yeah, no, we do. I just
Like,
really,
Jesus.
I thought there was other games, like I thought Journey to the Savage Planet might get a knock before Doom did.
That was going to be my.
But
next,
if we're cutting Doom,
next cut.
we're
I
cutting
think
Doom.
we're just going. We're looking at the list and we're going hard on some of the games that we know
Deep down.
deep down they're not going to make it. I like Cyberpunk and like Doom. You know, they're great games. I believe I love both of them. I think I scored Doom a really high score, 9.5
9
out of
something, I
10.
think. 9.
And I did
yeah.
prefer it to the last game. I know you didn't for reasons, and it's
no.
fine. It's that's
I
the
still
way
liked
it
it.
is.
Like-
I can guarantee you, if that was the first, if Doom Eternal was the first
Oh,
Doom
yeah.
Doom game, it'd be top 10.
Yeah.
It'd be hitting there.
But like you said, it didn't learn some lessons from the last game, and I preferred it. But it's sort of pure preference, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, shit. So I'm cutting Doom Eternal?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
Ooh. I mean, there's some little ones you could trim off there.
Shall we talk about Journey to the Savage Planet? Because you did mention it, and that would have been
yeah,
my next. That would have been my next cut on this
Yes.
list.
Yeah.
I think it's a great game. I'm being really harsh when I say Baby's first Metroid Prime, but I think it's in terms of that's the vibe it's got in terms of the way it's going for it. That mixed with Outer Worlds, I suppose, and it's a nice little game. It's quite short.
And
It's
that's
got a
what
lot of
lets it down
style.
for me.
I think it stops before it really needs
started. Yeah,
and I think that's the biggest problem. I think it's got some quite funny bits in it.
I really wanted it to be procedural. You know, that's what I felt with it.
I mean, I'd say fair play to a game from that earlier this year getting this far, being that it's a smaller game.
Oh yeah.
It's
a great game.
I enjoyed playing it. It was one of those ones I was like, I remember you guys talking about it at the start of the year on the pod, and I was like, I really need to make time for that. And I managed to get on it later this year, and I really enjoyed playing with it, but it's just not on the same level as some of these other games, sadly. But it's a really good game. If you've not played it, you better go. It doesn't take that long to finish, and it's well put together.
Wasn't it in Game Pass at some point?
Yes, I think that's how I played. Actually, it was in Game Pass. So yeah, I think it was.
I think it's fair to say that every game on this list we recommend that you guys play.
Yes.
Like anybody, you know, anybody who's listening or watching, any game we talk about today, we're saying is worth. I mean, of all the games that were released this year, this is 30 that we're saying
play. You
should be looking at. You know.
Okay. Journey to the Savage Planet is gone.
What about Risk of Rain 2? In a lineup with some of the stronger games on this list, would you say that is objectively one of the best games of the year as a package, as a whole?
Chris?
Thanks for that palm off. But I mean, it's not in my personal top 10 for this year. Because of the quality of everything else. I really like that game. I think it's very clever. It's fun to play cooperatively. We talked about the boss as well, you know, as a culmination of it. But I think there are 10 better games on this list. I think there's a few games we're cutting here that are being cut a little bit too early, but I do think none of them will make the top 10. But I feel like we're being brutal towards certain games and not talking about others. But it doesn't make my top 10. So that, you know, unless you're like Adam.
No, the thing is, man, we start with 31 games on this list to get into 10, so that you know, even there's 5 of us, there's a lot of crossover. You know, we all loved The Last of Us. We did a spoiler cast about it. You know, we all loved Animal Crossing. We've talked about a lot of these games leading up to this moment. So there are games on there that are going to be kind of just one person's put them on there, and if they're not, even they can't be like, oh no, it does. You know, it might feel like we're chopping and almost rushing through the list, but ultimately,
I think you've got to get down to the nitty gritty eventually.
Yeah,
like, that's what it is. Like, there's games on here that we're going to argue for.
Yeah.
So the ones we're not.
Yeah, no. Desperados 3 and Bug Snacks are the two that, at the moment for me, are the two that sort of right on the bottom of this list, and both
Desperados 3 is fucking brilliant.
That's what I put Desperados. I think I put Desperados 3 on this list. I wouldn't want to cut it straight away, and the reason for that is there's nothing else on the list that's quite like it, I don't think. Maybe Wasteland 3 you could argue is a similar.
Well, Wasteland 3 is, and I think, a better game. Which one?
But I will say that Desperados 3 is on my personal list.
Okay. What about Bug Snacks?
It is in my personal top 10 of the year. Bug Snacks is not for me, but that's for me.
It's not for me either.
It's not for me.
Not for me.
And we've given it its due. I mean, not right here, but previously. Okay.
Right, I've got a couple for you.
Go.
One.
Crash Bandicoot 4.
Then I started shooting.
Neo 2. They're not going to be in the top 10.
Yeah. No, I really
Neo 2
want to get around to Crash. Neo 2, I did try. I just fucking hell. The systems are too much in it for me. It's just like
See, I
just added way too much stuff, and I was just like, oh, my head is not ready for this at all.
Yeah. See, I don't think Neo 2 got enough credit this year. I think because it came out right back at the beginning of the year, and it just. I mean, I'm a fan of that genre.
Yeah.
Although I didn't in the review not once, you know, compare it. I didn't call it Souls-like. I don't compare it to those games in that respect because for me it's just more like Ninja Gaiden. It's more. I put it on the list. It's on my list. I wanted it to be mentioned at some point. I knew it was never going to be mentioned for best story, never going to be mentioned for best visuals or
best
audio,
combat. You might have a shout.
Well, maybe, because I do think, it is a lot of systems, but once you master those systems, I mean, I'm not the most skilled gamer in the world. I'm not. I battle through things, as Adam will attest to from the constant conversations we have, including during Neo 2, where I just said to him, "Fuck this game, I'm fucking," and I went back and did it. The game itself, I think, is fantastic. I think it has got a really good story, actually. I probably should have put that on the list. The story is really good. It's got twists and turns. It tells a proper cohesive story from start to finish, with allies and people who betray you and stuff that's really good. And the DLC has been amazing. I just think it's brilliant. I think the combat is probably, if we had a top 10 of combat, it would be in that, I think. But I think I'm alone in it.
I love these games, and I love that developer when they do those kind of games. I just bounced off it a little bit because it is, even Souls
intense.
games do let you in easier than that game. That game is fucking
hard. That game.
What I will say is, I reviewed it, so I kind of had to.
And that's the thing, when you are not in that situation.
Like I might have played 2 hours of it and gone, if I'd bought it, I'd have been gutted, but I didn't. I reviewed it. So, and I mean, I'm sure if we went back and found those emails or messages between me and you when I first started, it would have been, I don't think I can do this game. And then
it usually is.
Yeah, and then it is.
usually
I
is.
do. I have a crazy emotional roller coasters with games, but one day we should publish some of them. But yeah,
Sure.
it's just it's for me. It's on my list of games. I think it's a phenomenal game, and it did take me a while to get into the systems. It did take me a while to get used to it. I was doing my job to a certain extent when I played it, so I get it. And I will not argue with you guys. I just wanted it to be mentioned because I don't think it got as much credit as it probably should.
Do you know those games you have where you wish that somehow, childishly, you could have a button that pauses everything? And there's many of them these days, because, I mean, there's fucking... let's say we start with this, the 31 of the best of the year. But this is one game I would love to be able to go, everyone else go away. Me and Neo 2 can have some time. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to understand this. I'm going to play it the way I see YouTubers play it, where they get into a boss fight or any just standard grunt enemy fight, and they watch their animation and they go, right, they've got that move, they've got that combo. Okay, so I can see what they're doing. Okay, block. I bounced. I unfairly, because I can't, even now I can respect how good it is, and I trust your opinion and you reviewed it. I think I've never bounced so quickly off of one of those kind of games. And I mean ever. I've played almost all of them, like, the Surges, all of those, that style. I reckon I played less than an hour of this, and I was like, no, not now. If you want it on the list...
No, I think it's a cut. I loved Neo. I loved
Yes.
that game. I absolutely loved it, and I was well up for this. And I still am. It's a bit like you. I keep wanting to go back to it, but I also know I stopped playing it because even someone that plays all of the Soulsborne games, I was literally like, I am banging my head against a wall on this boss
from the very start.
And from the start, and I've got further into it, but like I'm like, I can't keep replaying this. It's not a bonfire. This bonfire to the boss section over and over again. Keep getting my ass into me. I'm like, because so. I want to do what you just said. I want to go back and really learn and invest the time, but it's competing with obviously so many other games on this list. I respect what it's trying to do, and I adore what it did with the first one and what it's trying to do. And I've seen snippets of things that I really love, but I can't speak as passionately about it than some of these other games on this list. But I can see what you see, Mick. I think if I'd got further, I would, and I keep meaning to go back, but maybe I
just wanted to give it its moment in the sun, basically,
because it's not been mentioned.
No. So is it a cut?
I think so, but it's
you can cut it. Yeah.
And what about Crash? Chris, you mentioned you suggested Crash to be cut. It's a good game.
Yeah, it is a good game.
It's a very good game at moments.
Far too...
Yeah, no, say it. It's fine. Say
far
it.
too punishing for the style of game it is. I'm well up for a challenge. If it's too easy, then I don't want to play it.
Yep.
But it's just far too harsh.
I think I don't want to tell developers how to make games because they are brilliant and I love playing them and I'm always appreciative of them. I think they felt like the way they would make it easier is by removing lives. So you just checkpoint and you over and over and over and over and over again, because there's no penalty for death other than going back to a checkpoint. Whereas normally in a Crash game, you run out of lives, done. You know, it's not that anymore. I think really what I would have wanted from it is you can stick that in there. You can put checkpoints, and that's absolutely fine. But I think what I would have wanted is just a bit more of a balanced curve. Like, I think this one, it starts off fairly playable, and I think before you've even finished the first world, it's starting to go, or maybe just after, where it's starting to go and stick 2 fingers up or 1 finger up and be like, no, this is the Dark Souls of platformers. Sorry, it's a joke. I don't mean that. Take it back. I'll edit that.
I'll tell you something telling, right?
Yeah.
When you said Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, I almost said, I can't comment on this because I haven't played it.
You reviewed it.
I don't even remember it. And I do remember it now.
Yep. It's a good game.
It's not a bad game at all. And I gave it a high score. And
8.5?
Yeah.
Or it was 8 something.
But
in the moment,
it's not
it's going to go, isn't it?
Top 10 of the year.
I'm going
to easy. 23 left.
I'm going to suggest, Chris Hyde, you might go against me here, but it's not going to hit top 10. Paper Mario.
Just for a minute there, I was glad I'd finished my drink, because every time Adam goes to suggest one, I think I'm going to do that thing on the screen.
Yeah. I just think like it's there's not much more you can kind of say about it, and I feel it's what we can say actually that we didn't discuss is I do think the gameplay is insanely repetitive and not rewarding, and that's a humongous error in the game. If they just kept in the fucking XP element, just to feel that you're building on something. There's so many battles that I just skipped. I was like, I'm not going to go near this. Why would I bother? I just want to drive on and find. I'm more interested in finding like the toads and stuff like that, and just seeing what little
I avoided battles.
What are indoors. But when you start avoiding battles, that's not a good sign.
When I got to the end of that game, I was actively like, oh, what? And you know what annoyed me the most is when you try to avoid them, but one would be forced upon you because they jump out or something.
Yeah.
And I was actually like, you bastards, because I was annoyed by that because it forced me into. I wanted the boss battles, but because there was no reward other than coins for battling, I just didn't want to do the fights. I wanted to do boss battles and push the story. It's
an excellent Paper Mario game, in ways, but it's let down by that in a massive way, and it just wouldn't reach our top 10. I know it won't.
So I mean, if you two aren't in its corner, then it's got to go. I can't. I'm as one person. Even if I could wax lyrical about it, and you guys it would still be. Well, you know,
I never want to cut a Nintendo title.
No, but what I would say is I do love the game. It's not a top 10 game, but I do love the game. But it is a massive sin for a game's core fundamentals to be something. I think I said it in the review, or it might have been a preview video, where it reminded me of the only thing about Final Fantasy VII, that when you were 100 hours in and you would be playing, and you go,
you did say that. I remember that's exactly what it was.
And that is a fundamental issue with an otherwise terrific video game. That's all I've got to say.
It bothered me less. And I think we said this at the time when we were talking about it, certainly, that bothered me less. But I understand, because there even were moments I was like, no, I just want to get to here. Can you just fuck off, Koopa Trooper? I just want to get here. I don't want to waste my boots on you. So I get it. It's in my top 10 personally, but I get it, and I'm not going to fight for it. You've already deleted it, so I don't even know why I'm opening my mouth.
I haven't, but
you haven't.
Yeah,
sorry,
it's still there.
It's going now though.
Is it going?
I don't think I can
Chris
say
and
anything.
Nick haven't
Chris
played
isn't
it.
fighting for it.
No,
I think as a group's top 10, it's not going to make it.
Okay.
So
I have deleted it now.
Yeah.
22.
What about you guys? Tell me if Resident Evil 3 should be in a top 10 of this year.
No,
I don't think it should.
No, come on. Top 10 of video games of this shit. No.
I don't want it gone yet. I just don't want it gone yet. There's others like Resi 3 is excellent. It is excellent. It is just 5.5 to 6 hours of just action packed, no bullshit. It doesn't waste your time. It's exciting. It looks great. The boss battles are great. Nemesis is great. There's so much good on it, and I don't want to cut it yet. Something else.
Okay.
But I will raise a game that I probably would be the one to defend the most here, and you'd be okay with it. But I think we can cut Spiritfarer.
What?
What?
Yeah, because
I bet I know why as well.
because the biggest thing for that game is what it got into was best story. The gameplay does, and I have said this, it drags on.
It's tiring.
It gets tiring. That's where it doesn't work then. It like driving the ship is a slog. It just gets repetitive and you're kind of minding everything when really at that point, 20 hours in, I'm invested in story and characters. And when I have to start doing all the crap stuff, it just, all the surprise of what those moments are just a nuisance at that point. That's where the game suffers in length. It got into story, but it's not going to be like you can for the first 10 plus hours, 10 to 15 max, I'd say, you can be like, this game feels great. It all moves, like the navigating around is fun. It's very smooth, very colorful, but the gameplay at its core gets repetitive. And it's the story that's the most important aspect for me. Now, if you want to keep it, fine, but that's what I'm throwing it out there now. This is where I think Spiritfarer kind of doesn't reach. It's in my kind of game of the year, but that's for heavy personal reasons, which I've explained before. But I don't think I can convince you otherwise if we start talking about Spiritfarer. Adam, you're going to start going on about the whole thing of it being repetitive and stuff. And
I had, you genuinely flummoxed me because I was. There are games in this. You never get all your top 10 in a top 10 of the site.
No.
And Spiritfarer, I had just assumed is going to be, that game is going to be why one of mine misses out, because the power and passion behind that is going to get that in a top 10. So I'm kind of shook, for want of a less trendy
when I'm
phrase.
When I'm looking at the list, and as this is breaking down, I kind of feel
you
like
wouldn't cut Resi 3 before it?
No, because Resi 3's like
Gameplay is a grabber.
It's a grabber. It's so much fun. I love the opening of Resi 3. I love.
But I mean, I would even argue Resi 3's throwaway compared to Spiritfarer that left its indelible mark upon your soul, you know.
But I'm not playing Resi 3 and going, my heart. I'm like, that's the way I was with Spiritfarer. In Resi 3, I'm like, oh, this is just great. And like when you get into moments of like, oh Jesus Christ, I'm after blanking. The sewers, like that in Resi 2 for me is a drag. That just goes on for too long. When it happens in Resi 3, I was like, oh fuck, here we go again. And it's literally like, no, we're gonna keep you going, gonna keep you on your toes. And every moment in Nemesis, it just felt action blockbustery.
But there's 22 games on this list, and I almost think there's 15 I would have thought you'd cut before Spiritfarer.
I know, but like that's just what popped out, and this is
I honestly think...
is what we're doing. Like I don't see why I can't say any more about Spiritfarer. Like,
yeah, but what I'm saying is over the week you have said enough that's made me go, it's going to make probably, if not in the 10, it's going to make it near. It's going to be a question.
My biggest fight was going to be for best story. For Spiritfarer.
Okay.
That is my biggest fight for it. If someone says to me, oh, the gameplay is just very fucking repetitive at the end, I'm like, I'm with you.
Even I would be like, I'd rather Spiritfarer stayed and Resi 3 went.
Why don't you keep them both for now? Why don't you just...
Why?
Although, like, Adam's the only one who's fought for Spiritfarer, and now he's
I don't think Chris has had a chance. I think Chris has been there, I think, shaking his head. I don't think that's the case.
I'm surprised we're cutting that this early.
Yeah.
There are games that I've liked that I would offer as cuts before that, and there's other games I haven't played that I'd want to know more about.
Why don't you pin them both for now? Pin it, and we'll just keep moving because there's more that are going to come off this list easier than Spiritfarer.
Yeah.
Because while I wouldn't argue for Spiritfarer, you two have been really, really passionate about this game to the point where I kind of feel like
it's earned its place, isn't it? Or damn near it.
Even if it comes off at number 12 or 11, you know what I mean? Like,
it feels like a very raw cut.
And I myself, I was really into this game for a period. I
say very hot and heavy.
But I think like we're being insanely unfair, and I think personally, overall of the year, a lot of people are being unfair at Resi 3. I think Resi 3, if Resi 2 didn't happen and Resi 3 came out, people would be fucking championing that as much as Resi 2
But
did.
I don't think anyone's saying that Resi's a bad game.
Yeah, I
It's
wasn't
just,
saying it was
is
bad. I was
is it a
just
top
asking because I
10
haven't played
game?
it, so I wanted to know why you guys.
I've played it. I think it's a good game, but it just
Because I've heard lots of mixed stuff. That was sort of
Yeah,
the
there is
reason I
lots of
asked,
mixed. There is definitely, but it's kind of one of those games as well / remakes that I'm like, what more do people want? They stayed faithful to us.
and that's fine. I just didn't think it was a top 10 game.
I mean, I'm looking at a list now, and I can see probably 10 games I can't imagine that are coming off this list for.
I think this is going to become very, very hard.
Get very tense.
Within
If you
about
want to
4
pin
or 5
Resi
games.
3 and Spiritfarer, then so be it. But
Spiritfarer is totally down to you, really. I think both of the Chris's have feelings on that game. Again, it's the kind of as host thing. But if no one's going to say keep Spiritfarer, then we have to delete it because we've got to get down to 10.
Why don't you move on?
Can we move on? Because I've got a really cut that I think
Okay,
I'll be very surprised if anyone goes, no, that's definitely got to stay.
Can I guess what it is?
Go on then.
Is it one of the games where there's 3 by 1 developer on the list?
Watch Dogs Legion, are you asking?
Yeah, because I think we could.
That was a way easier way of doing it, Mick. I don't want to. I know you're
I was
tired.
I had to think far too long about that. Watch Dogs Legion.
Yeah, I think that's an easy cut. Yeah,
It's a good game,
It's not the best
but
game
it's
of the
not
year
going to
by a
be.
long mile.
No, I think that's an easy cut, and I think that's maybe.
I liked it. I enjoyed it, but let's be honest.
I'm going to play more of it, but
same eventually. But I would argue it's actually a step back for the series by going into the we've talked about this. The idea of the millions of protagonists, like Chris
The jumping
White.
quality from 1 to 2 has kind of lost.
But the thing is, I think Chris White and I still remember the article he wrote about it being a better open world game, or no, bigger, the best world.
Watch Dogs 2 has a better open world.
That's right, and I still remember thinking, we'll get no fight back from this because I totally agree with him, and it's true.
Someone made a video about it though.
That's right, they did. Yeah, for me, this is a step. Legion is a step back into Watch Dogs 1 with its dark, gritty, grimy thing where. I don't know. Is it a developer out there who just thinks, "Oh, it's always shit and raining in London"? Do you know what I mean? Like, all right, weather's not the best over here, but it's not the best. Yeah, I mean that's neither here nor there. I think Watch Dogs Legion is a very easy cut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think you
Good game. It's on this list. It's on the short list. Any game on this list is a good game.
Yep.
I think you could cut Desperados 3 maybe, unless Adam really wants to keep it on the list for now.
I just thought Desperados 3 was just a game that I didn't think I was going to love as much as I
it's
did.
absolutely
It's just
fucking
really
brilliant.
cool.
So
One of my favourites of
why
the
are we
year for
cutting it?
sure. Because I didn't feel like it was one of the ones that was going to make it into the top 10, I guess.
But rather than counter picking each other, why don't we pick the games we think should be cut? Because at the moment, Adam's trying to cut one of his favourite games. Mick's trying to cut one of his favourite games. Why don't we cut the games we think personally? Because that's how we hear from one another as to why it shouldn't be cut.
Because a lot of these games are really hard for me to even think about cutting. I mean, it's a difficult. What about Ori?
Yeah, I was just about to say Ori.
I'd
Ori, I
retract
think,
my
should be
previous
cut.
statement. Ori, Chris,
You're gonna hate me.
What?
You're gonna hate me. It's like number 11 on my list. I know, mate. My top 10.
ridiculous.
It's fucking Immortals' fault, mate. I tell you now.
Yeah,
that game has screwed me over.
It's ruined my list. Not to give spoilers, but
yeah. I love that game, but it's just because of what it's going up against. At the moment, on my list as it stands, it's number 11. It's an honourable mention.
Fucking man. I can't be cutting Ori and the Will of the Wisps when on this list. Now I'm going to anger people. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Half-Life Alyx, Gears Tactics, Desperados. Like those 4 games aren't being cut, and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. How that game looks and how it plays.
Yeah, how it plays is like I say. I was going to ask about Gears Tactics. That's going to be my next.
Well, this is a difficult one because I think only Mick and I have played that, and Nick absolutely loves it.
I thought it was fucking excellent because it did things with the genre that other games hadn't done. I think it deserves, and
I can't believe we're thinking of cutting Ori now.
At
this stage,
you know, let's just call it the top 21 games of.
No.
Look, you mentioned
Half-Life
Assassin's
Alex,
Creed
Half-Life
Valhalla,
Alex,
right?
Half-Life
You
Alex.
mentioned
Only you and I have played it.
Yeah.
It is a very good video game, and I talked about the story, but it's very
niche
much
by dint
it's
of what it
niche
is.
by dint of what it is, but it's also very much, while it does cool shit, none of that shit is like, yes, it's one of the best VR games. But it's one of the best VR games because it had millions and millions of dollars pumped into it.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
lot of other VR games that do the movement, that do the horror, that do the like gun stuff, the reloading, all that variety, but don't have the $1 billion budget. Half-Life Alex is a
I'll put it to you
fantastic
like this,
game.
yeah? So if you're comfortable with cutting Half-Life Alex and I am, then that can be cut because we're the
Yes.
only ones. So that's a cut, right?
I think it would stand out like a sore thumb on here because
Yeah.
it's not a game that Chris and Adam haven't played because they didn't have time or they didn't fancy it. They
It's just got a
literally
barrier
couldn't.
to entry that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I and that angers me more than
and
anything
that's
else.
what I'm going to say next. It is kind of. It's kind of a marketing thing. They wanted to sell VR, their Valve Index. They
annoying.
wanted to sell more VR, so they made up VR. And I'm sure there's more to it creatively than that.
And out of all the series, like to do it, it's like,
And
oh, for
if
God's
there is
sake.
one series that you can think, and they will have definitely sold loads of VR units. But it feels cynical. It's really well executed. There are 10 games better.
Yeah.
Delete.
I would put an easy choice to everybody as well. You got two big, massive open world games by the same developer on there, which is you've got Immortals and you've got Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Are you about to suggest we cut Valhalla?
I am,
I don't
and
think
I'm
that's
only
going to
about
fly.
to.
Just going to pan to Chris White here.
Well, no,
No, I
and
agree.
I'm not going to suggest that I
I
want
think
to cut.
Immortals has done this.
Look,
It's
I
honest.
think. I
Fucking
tell you what.
Immortals.
Listen, I'll be dead honest now. I'm not going to mention because I don't want to spoil what's coming, and we're going to get deeper into it. There's maybe two games on this list that I am probably going to lose on that I really don't want to lose on. I really want them to be in, and Valhalla's not one of them. It's on my list. I think it's amazing. I think Ubisoft did a good
The
job.
other open world game that is on that list, I don't think you're going to lose on that.
And well, maybe, but the reason I'm suggesting to cut Assassin's Creed Valhalla is we gave. I think we gave Eivor, Eivor, he, she, they turned up.
Carry on. I'll look back.
They turned up in the
number
top
five.
five. I think
Number
of
five, best new
characters.
character.
Yeah. I think it's had its props from us in that respect. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a brilliant put out from Ubisoft. I think it's really, really good. I know some of you disagree. I don't think it's in the top. It's in my personal top 10, but there are games on this list that I fucking kind of forgot about. When I was doing my top 10, and I'm looking at them thinking, I could argue for this quite happily and call it a day. I don't think I'm going to win that argument. I don't think me and Chris together could possibly champion Valhalla as a bastion of gaming this year, but I do think it deserves to have been talked about and to have been mentioned. I do think it's really good. I think Ubisoft did themselves a service with that game. I think they did a very good job of changing up some of the things that were kind of getting stale. It's still a formulaic Assassin's Creed game, but the way they go about like the side quests, the way the story integrates, I think they did a better job than they've ever done. But unless anybody wants to argue for it,
Wow.
I'm quite happy to see it cut.
Wow.
Because there are games on there that I would really rather make the top 10. And I'm not going to get all my choices by a long shot.
No one
I've already
ever
lost
does.
3 or 4, So if there's 1 or 2 games on that list that I want to fight for, because there's some games I'm looking at that list that you guys are never going to take off, and that's fine. So I don't want to put my eggs in Valhalla's basket.
I mean, to me, the only person who's going to argue with you is Chris White. As what it didn't sound like he is. I don't know.
When I've been putting my list together for our own personal pieces, it fell out of the top 10
Sorry.
You want
because
about
of
personal
Immortals.
pieces?
Yeah. Sorry.
Enough.
Dirty
Yeah. No.
bitch.
Immortals has
And not
changed
because
a lot.
Immortals just sneaked in the 10. Like Immortals is in my top.
It pushes
5.
him down, doesn't it? It just pushes.
Yeah. So
Immortals
it
is
went.
a better offering, I think.
Yeah,
Overall.
it technically sounds
Even though they took a lot of that off
Can
him
you
from...
Yeah.
sorry, can we
And
just
now, actually,
appreciate
now I
that?
know about the fucking bosses.
Yeah, number
Get
25.
rid of fucking Immortals. No.
Can we just appreciate how if we'd gone back a year and told if I'd sat here and said, right, Ubisoft are going to release a Watch Dogs, a new Assassin's Creed, and a game
new
called
IP.
Immortals Phoenix Rising
Yeah.
that's basically Zelda, we would have all have gone, well, that'll be shit. Can we
Within
just
a month.
Yeah.
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 So is Assassin's Creed cut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Video version, just all of us.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to go
I'm-
to bat for it, and that's why I suggested cutting it.
I have never played Wasteland 3, and I'm not suggesting we cut it because we're like, with Spiritfarer, there's a very passionate argument as to why it should be in the top 10. Is Wasteland 3 better than 10 games on this list? And who's played it?
Wasteland 3, in my opinion, is better than several games on the list. I don't know whether it's better than 10.
I
think
really like
Wasteland-
Wasteland 3. That is, I said about that pause time thing. That's actually number one on that list.
I think Wasteland 3 is better than
Phenomenal
Desperados
game.
3.
I that's why I was trying to cut Desperados early.
Yeah, I
because
think,
I
if
think
you ha-
Wasteland
if you,
3
if
is the
you
better
bring in
game.
at Wasteland 3, I'd hold on to that for now because I don't
Yeah,
know how many
that's
of you
fine.
played Wasteland 3. Have you played that, Adam?
No.
You fucking love it, Adam. I really do think you'd love it.
Really?
Yeah, I really do think.
Well,
you'd
if you like
thought
Desperados-
Desperados was
Yeah, I was
good.
going to say it's a game that you two have both said to me about it, and I'm like, oh,
And it's
I
a
like
full-on-
Desperados. I
It's
love
a fucking
Desperados.
full-on
so-
RPG.
yeah,
you know,
it's
I know it's
proper.
Mm.
It's
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 turn-based
made by the guys
tactically
who
in the
made
combat,
those
but-
the first Fallout games,
yeah.
but with all the
Okay.
lessons learned
It's-
along the
Is
way.
it,
Like
is it PC only?
no, it's Xbox. It's
Anything
just Game
else?
Pass because they
It's on
own
Game
them now.
Pass. It's on
They
Game
own
Pass.
In
Don't say
Exile.
that to me.
No, because remember Microsoft bought In Exile and Obsidian and all those people. Because that was the big thing now. Brian Fargo from In Exile could in theory work on a Fallout game because Microsoft owned a lot. They own In Exile, Obsidian. They own that you could have Brian Fargo working on Fallout New Vegas 2. You know
There's
what I
a
mean?
character in Wasteland called something like Fry and Bargo or something. It's like,
Oh god, yeah, he's in all of them, all the Wasteland
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna wind me up so much. Yeah,
but if you were cutting, I'd cut Desperados before Wasteland 3. Wasteland 3 was a triumph this year. It was superb. Desperados 3 was too.
well, we've got to cut 9 games.
Having played them both, I think Wasteland 3 is better. What about, okay, if we're trying to cut and we're struggling here a little bit. So if you cut Assassin's Creed, yeah?
Yes, it's gone. We cut that. I got a game to throw out the question about.
Okay.
It was in my top 10 for quite a while, and then just a few
I
more
think
games
it won
come
for
out,
it.
and they knocked it slower, and it knocked it lower. And I think it's an amazing game that I burned very bright, very short for. Does Tony Hawk make it in a top 10?
No, I don't think it does.
What an achievement!
It was in my top 10 for a while.
That's what I'm saying,
and it
for a
bumped
long
out by
while.
several other games since.
But does
It's
it
just one of
now
those things.
with the Immortals, with the Marvel Spider-Mans, I would even throw out, with the games like Hades that came late but pushed things down. It's a brilliant achievement to take a game that they remade once and they ballsed up and then do it again and do it, I mean, just brilliantly.
Yeah.
But does it still? Because it doesn't for me. I love it, but it has just there was a new game and it would knock it down one, and it would just slowly knocked it out of the list, and it knocked it down quite some distance by the time, like I say, the likes of Immortals came through. Again, it's worth saying of all these 19, in fact all 31, are really good games.
Mm.
But
Every one of these games was an 8.5, 9, 10. You know, they were all
exactly.
highly reviewed,
But
very
there can only be 10
recommended.
games.
Like, what's crazy about Tony Hawk is there's nothing more I could have wanted.
That's exactly that.
You know, and that's
Yeah.
what's insane about it.
And yet, I'd ask you when you last played it. I booted up
Oh,
the other day
Jesus.
just to check, and that's what I mean. And it isn't, and it's not like, well, yeah, but it's a 70-hour game like Yakuza. And it's like, it's not. You could just pick it up and play a level.
Yeah.
I got it on PS4. I got it on PC. I've got it on Xbox.
Yeah.
I kind of
Feels
hate
like a
myself.
dagger in that. Feels like a dagger in the heart to my youth, but I do
Mm.
kind of agree with you. Annoyingly. Well, I hate
just
annoying
think,
with
you
you.
know,
but
No, I know.
We're not saying it's a bad game.
No,
are we?
it's important to remember.
It's
Like I say, every game on it is a good game.
Mm. Are we cutting Desperados 3 off this list as well?
I think if Tony Hawk is
If
going,
Tony Hawk's is going, I think.
Yeah.
Desperados maybe should
Yeah,
be
okay.
going.
I'll even do it in that order. But there you go.
I just want to quickly say though, like with Desperados, if you're, I was a person who never really thought I'd be into that kind of game, and Desperados 3 was just so good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
If anyone is wondering, like, I don't think that would be for me, give it a shot because I was so surprised.
And
It's
that's
a
why I
brilliant
think you
game.
should play
Absolutely
Wasteland
came
3.
out of left field.
Because
Yeah,
Wasteland 3
brilliant game.
is similar, but it's better. Much better. You really should play it. We're
Gears
kind of in the
Tactics.
shit here now. Yeah, Gears Tactics is standing
Gears
out.
Tactics.
So for me, the two that are currently standing out are Gears Tactics and Resi 3, personally speaking.
You let that Resi 3 alone.
I just
I don't think I can convince you guys on Gears Tactics, and I wish I could because
I like it.
it's so good. They did such like that game to take. I mean, it's not even just like, oh, this is Gears characters in a tactical turn-based. It's not like that. It's like you're playing a Gears game from a top-down perspective. I mean, the pace of it, the speed of it. I mean, turn-based games. I played a fucking lot of them this year. Turn-based tactical games like XCOM and things like that. This takes the XCOM formula, and in my personal opinion, it's the only one ever that has made it. It's better than XCOM. It's the mechanics in it, the way it works, the story. I mean, it's so fast-paced. Everything sort of happens like when you do an Overwatch in this game, because the enemy's kind of like when you've got it set up to take out the wretches. You know, it's not like in XCOM where one wretch moves and one guy shoots and one wretch moves. When it happens, everybody just opens fire and it's like a big battlefield and the grunts are moving at the same time and everyone, whatever you've got set up on it, and it's all happening and you're watching it and it's really cinematic and it's really, really smooth. Like it's a really polished game. It looks fucking awesome on PC. I like the story. I think the characters are good. I think there's twists in the story that I didn't maybe I saw them coming, but I didn't expect them to bother with that side of it. And I don't know. If it's going to get cut, it's going to get cut. Because like I said, I don't think I can convince you guys. But it's a shame in a way because it's the Gears game I've enjoyed most in the last 2 or 3 years. And that's saying something because 4 was great, 5 was great, but I just love Gears Tactics. I think it's brilliant. But anyway, that's just I've said my piece on it, and that's it. If it gets cut, it gets cut. But it got mentioned, and it is one of the year's best games. I think maybe not the top 10, but it deserves it deserves a mention it's had.
I don't disagree with a single thing you just said, but there are 17 games on this list.
That's a good point,
and there are maybe 15 above it for me. And that's just me. The only trouble with that is I think I'm the only other person who's played it.
Yeah. I mean, no, just you can cut it. I said my piece about it. I've championed it, and as I wanted to. I can't fight any more than that with it.
No,
it meant something to me. Well, not meant something.
No, I know what you mean.
It was more to me than it would maybe have been to you guys. I thought it was great.
So, oh my god, this is a strong list now. Shit. Demon Souls?
I was just about to say that. Because, it's great. But, it's the same game that came out.
It's better, I'd argue.
Of course it is.
But,
yeah.
See, it's my first time ever playing this game. So I'm just on a complete high with it. But if I had played it back in the day...
I think that's the difference. I think if none of us had played it before...
Yeah.
It would have been... I mean, it's blown me away anyway.
See, I'd argue the opposite. I'd argue I enjoy it more because I'm less afraid of it. Because I played it before.
All those little moments as well in it, because they've been so reverential with it. They've been so careful not to upset people. Not to... No, that's wrong.
Well, they have upset people, so they failed there.
Yeah, what I mean is they've been so careful to be respectful, I think, of what came before. That's what I meant. I said it wrong. That's what I meant. I think they've been very respectful with the game.
The thing is, man, we're at the point now where if we don't want to cut Demon Souls, whoever wants it to stay has got to suggest an alternative cut.
It's another one. It's another one on my top 10 that's probably going to get... I think I've got 3 left, if that now, but it's, it is what it is. I don't think it...
Can... 2 seconds, just to counteract Demon Souls X, I'm trying to look at the list here. Right? One we haven't talked about, but I feel that it would make top 10 because of how much you champion it. Deep Rock Galactic.
I was going to ask the question about that because there's only 3 of us who played it.
I know it's supposed to be unbelievable. It's up to you, lads, whether it's top 10.
Yeah, I mean, so I was going to ask the same question. I love this game. I've loved the time with it. I keep meaning to go back since that update,
Yes,
Adam. There's been a
yes.
massive update
Yeah,
to
I
it, which I
know.
think would be even more awesome than the stuff we've done before.
Yeah.
It is one of those games that has dropped down my Game of the Year list.
Yeah.
As new games have come in, and I know that there are games that are not on my list purely because I haven't played them that I know will make this group's list. And so I'm thinking, if this is near the bottom of my list, I'm struggling to say, I haven't played Final Fantasy VII Remake, for example, and I think I might get shot in the face if I suggest that's a cut at this stage. So
Yes.
I'm kind of, yes. So I
With
I
a wet
feel like-
tissue.
with a slap on the bumhole. I feel like it goes
Okay.
because I
Yeah.
don't think it's
I
ever
think I
gonna
need
last.
to play that game though.
You
need
do.
to play
You
it.
really do.
Yeah.
And you have Game Pass.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you got to get in that mindset of this isn't my list, it isn't Chris's list, this isn't God is a Geek list, and
I think you got to pull it personally.
But
and I
then
do
we
like
spent
it.
time
so I'm
as a
not gonna...
team playing it, so I feel like that stands for
Some of
something
us.
when it's the God is a Geek list.
Some of us did.
True. Yeah, no, that's fair.
still
I
think
mean, Nicola's
there's-
not
I still
here. If
think
she
there's-
was.
I still think there's a lot of games on there more deserve another spot on a 10. Like if it was top 15.
Yep. Okay. No. Okay. Deep Rock Galactic, Rock and Stone, brother.
Rock and Stone, brother.
15.
Are we discussing Demon Souls further, or are you pulling it?
I mean, it's up to you guys. I
What do
only
we
do
feel
what
about that? I gave it a 10. I gave it a 10 in the review. I
every
reviewed
game you've
an
given a
awful
10
lot of
to, we
games.
basically. No, you don't. That's the thing. You don't give many 10s, but basically every one
I
of them
don't
we've picked out.
genuinely. But again, it's not my list. It's on my list, and it's
It's on mine.
Offer an alternative. That's what I would say at this point.
okay.
Resi 3.
Well, let's no, because Chris is
No,
really passionate.
I want to hear about Resi 3, but genuinely do, because I think I get. Trust me, Adam. I get how passionate you are, but when I'm thinking about, I haven't played it. I want to understand how the entire group feels about it, because I feel like we're getting that down now to the games have to resonate with everyone, and if it doesn't, then I feel like we might have to go, I'm really sorry. So I feel like it's up to the other three to say, well, do you want to keep Resi 3?
I've not played it, so and I don't.
I mean, I've tried to cut it 3 times. My feelings
I've
have been made.
I started it, and I wasn't blown away by it. But
Same.
It's not really
I
nice.
like it. I think it's a good
Yeah.
game. I just think this list has to be a bit more than good games or games that are very good. I think they have to be exceptional. And even if
I
it's
think-
like, well, I don't agree that it's exceptional, I think there has to be support for that.
I think maybe because of what it is, it may well be. And Adam we'll probably argue, and it's fine. I haven't played it, so I'm not arguing with you at all. But what I would say is that it seems to be like a bit of a one and done. Like, if you know what I mean. Like, it may well be a fantastic ride for 5 or 6 hours,
Right.
but like compared to some of the games on there where they're just content heavy or they offer more as a package, I don't know whether that's even worth mentioning. But
I don't.
I just think
that's-
if you're going to cut, I mean, we talked about cutting things like Demon Souls or what have you. I mean, is it?
I would say, like, as we reminisce about this year and all the games that we've played, I love Resi 3. Like, I reviewed it in, I can't remember what I gave it.
I
think
wanna
was
say it was
9
in-
or a 9.5.
No, I would say an 8.
9.
Okay,
I'm fairly
I'll
sure
check.
it was
I'll
around a
check.
9.
I'll check.
But
Carry on.
like, I love that game, and I think it's exactly as Adam describes it. It's like just action. It's straight in. There's no funnying about. There's no pace issues. It's got the tense moments. It's got the action. It's kind of it remakes Resi 3 the way it did with 2. And
It was
as
a
Adam
9,
said
by the way.
again, yeah, as Adam said again, if Resi 2 hadn't come out, people will be all over this.
I
all
don't.
over it, man.
All I'll
The
say
boss
is I
fights
don't
are so
like that
good.
argument for this game. I don't like the argument of
No,
if
I'm not- it's
Resi.
not my
No, but
argument.
Adam used that too. I don't think that's. I don't think it
Like,
means anything.
I do think it's that though. I do think it's that.
Like,
Like,
you
people-
can't use a
but we-
hypothetical to get a game on the
And
top 10.
And also, we said that Doom Eternal, if Doom hadn't come out, would be on this top 10, and we cut it. So I
All
can't.
right.
feel
Well,
like
I
we
think
can't-
okay. Well, if all right. Well, how well Resident Evil 2 was received when Resident Evil 3 was remade, they had something to go off, so it kind of went under the radar a bit because 2 was so well made. It's kind of very similar in that sense. But when you actually play it and you think back to Resi 3, the original, it's incredibly well done.
The thing is, my personal feeling is that, for example, Adam and Chris, what you're saying is true. I feel like it feels like you more want it on the list because
no, but the thing is that I don't want it on the list.
Oh, okay, but I was going to say
this was my thing, right? I was just like I was saying about reminiscing. I'm thinking a lot about these and thinking, oh, I'd love to go back and play that now.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking, oh, I could replay Resi 3 again. But as good as it is, it's not in a top 10 overall.
I feel like Adam almost wants to back its corner because we're in a situation now where there's a lot of games media who are 19 years old reviewing this game and talking about it, who weren't there when it came out, don't have the attachment, and don't even know that it was a short game to begin with. So there's lots of criticisms about it being short, and correctly or incorrectly, that seems unfair, perceived to be unfair, because they just weren't there at the time. And I feel like Adam wants to back it a bit and say, look.
I don't know. I just think, I haven't played. There is a lot of action games, clearly, but Resi 3 was just it was probably the first game I played this year that I was like, yep, that's definitely my favorite game so far this year. And I was not expecting it to blow me away as much as it did, especially as well considering it was really we were really starting getting into this whole pandemic thing, and I was a bit like, oh, and the intro of the game is so depressing.
Yeah, it's about a pandemic, basically.
Yeah, and it's depressing. But I was also very oh, how are they going to handle Nemesis? Is he going to be a nuisance? Because I felt like that in 2 a lot of the times,
Yeah.
And the boss fights in Resi 3 are all brilliant. They're all brilliant.
So, man, I guess ultimately, if you don't want to give it up, and for me, this is an awful way of saying it, but it feels like this argument seems a little bit moot because I just don't think, even if we keep it for another 4 cuts, I just don't think it's getting top 10. But if it is, if you feel it is, tell me a game to cut. We've got to start there. We have to cut others anyway. So, you know what I mean?
I said it already. I said Spiritfarer. I would play Spiritfarer, as I said, is stuck with me. It's there. I'm not going to play that game again because I have what I got out of it. Resi 3, I absolutely would play again because it is obviously shorter.
All I'll say is I think Spiritfarer is the one that people in the comments will be like, you cut what? But I mean, that's not their list, it's ours. So I know. Well, I know what you mean. Chris White have played it. I guess the question is then, Adam is not going to back this one. Are we cutting it?
I mean,
Chris White, sorry?
See my face.
I can't back it. Not with the other games on the list.
So it really boils down to, is this your Resident Evil 3, Christopher Hyde? Or is it going? Because Adam is not backing it. Nick isn't. I'm not. Chris White isn't.
It's not my Resident Evil 3.
So it's gone. So now should we cut Resident Evil 3?
Feel like a heartless bastard now.
No, but listen...
Spiritfarer got its right category.
Every game on this list is fantastic.
I know, I'm joking.
I wonder if you could cut...
Yes.
Oh, I don't even say it. I wonder if you cut Miles Morales from the top 10 of the year.
No.
I've been playing Devil's Go on, Chris, sorry.
I was looking at this list thinking the same. And and I'm making assumptions of things I haven't played that I think will rate higher. That's the only thing I'm doing. So I want to be really clear. I think that game's great, story aside. But I'm looking at this list going, well, I've played that and I don't want to cut that. Haven't played that, but other people are waxing lyrical over it. And same so I'm like, where do we cut 4 games from?
If we cut Miles Morales, we cut Demon's Souls, and we cut Resident Evil 3, I think. I really do.
So,
I really do.
Can we just go back to Miles Morales for a second, right? I have been back and forth with this game in my head. I think I've decided I don't think it should be cut. I think that...
around about the time when Adam said we'd have to cut Resident Evil 3 as well.
I
decided in my head.
I just think overall, if someone said to me, what game was the most like fun to just play.
And
It's
this
Miles Morales.
most playable kind of. Like I don't even think it would go like top 5, but I think it gets damn close to top 10, if not 10. It's.
But
that game was such a good time, man. Like,
Yeah,
but
it's ridiculous.
I didn't think I would
play.
want to play it. I felt like it would just be like, yeah, no, I played this all already with the last one, and I liked it. But you know what? They learnt the right lessons and smartened up a lot of it. They did. They learnt the right lessons. They made the side quests more interesting.
So
it's a
Streets
real
of Rage
good game.
4?
Fucking, you can just calm your shit
I'm just-
down
Well, I
right
think,
now.
Adam,
I
I
need
think
some-
Adam's entire top 10 is still on this list. I
No,
think
it's
you've
not.
got to lose
No, it's
one.
not.
You can't do. It's not. You know.
But all right, if you want to cut Streets of Rage 4, fine. But I reckon there'll be support for that game.
Yeah.
I
I'm just
can't
trying
help
to
it if
find
I've got
games.
great taste in games, lad. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Pull the sleeves up now.
Ari. I'm dragging Resi 3
This
as
is
far as I
very-
can go.
Should have kept with those daggers in the back.
I would cut it because I haven't played them as much, but I don't think that's fair. There's 4 games I can see now that I would cut,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
but it's only due to the fact that one Wasteland 3, but that's only because I haven't played it. 2 Ori Will of the Wisps.
I think Wasteland 3 might be
Resi
hanging
3,
on.
4 Demon Souls.
Do you want to know what I would cut?
Go on.
If I cut 4 now and there was no question, I'd cut Wasteland 3.
Wow.
I'd cut, and this is actually, you know what? No, I probably wouldn't. Let's start with. I would cut. I'd cut Demon Souls.
Okay.
Right. I like it, but I would cut it from this list because I think it's great. But there's others. I would probably cut. Almost certainly, I'd cut Streets of Rage 4. Didn't resonate with me like it has with you guys. That's just me. It's not my sort of game in so much as that. I would cut Miles Morales, and I would cut Yakuza because I haven't played it.
That's 5. That's more,
Yeah.
more than you
No, I
need.
cut
Too
4,
many.
I didn't. I cut.
Yeah.
Right. Oh no, you changed your mind about Wasteland.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So I mean, there's only. I mean, fucking hell. There's only one game on that whole list that I would fight for at all
We may
today
have
to
to
get
go around the
top
room
10.
and select and suggest a cut or a keep. Maybe we need to start locking games.
Maybe we start. Let's. I mean, you can lock.
I don't all
Without
5 will
telling-
suggest a lock.
Yeah,
mean,
I think that
I
might
would-
work.
You can lock 5, can't you?
I just
Without
think we
saying
need
what
to
it
get.
is. Let's be honest. You can lock 5 on that list. We're not going to be fucking arguing where that goes in the top 10.
Well,
Just
let's maybe start there then. So do we all agree The Last of Us is a lock?
it's a lock.
Do we all
It's one of the
agree?
year's best games, regardless of
Animal Crossing?
Lock.
Yep.
Adam Carroll, I said Animal Crossing. I'll lock that. Astro's Playroom?
Lock.
Yeah.
lock.
Yep. Chris? Yep. Okay, so that's 5.
Yep.
Hades?
Yeah. Top
Yeah,
10,
Yeah,
yeah.
these are lots of top 10.
Jesus. I don't know why I was just thinking top
Can we-
5 there for some reason.
and can we just, because it keeps getting mentioned,
Immortals-
Immortals has to
Immortals
be a
is a
lock.
lock, right?
Absolutely.
So with there's 5 locked. I would go so far as to say I would have thought Remake was a lock.
It has to be locked. It has to be locked.
I haven't played it, but I'd be amazed if that didn't get it from all
Like,
what
it
you
is
guys
for
have
me.
said.
Is it for you, Mick and Chris White?
No.
It's not a lock for me because of other things
Wow.
on the list.
Okay.
Okay, this is going to get tasty before it finishes. Then.
Is Ghost of Tsushima a lock for everyone?
I want Ghost of
Absolutely
Tsushima on
for
the
me.
list.
Yeah, I felt like
I really, really want that on this list somewhere.
think
Even
it
if you put it
deserves
at
to be.
10 and I just fucking sit
No,
quietly.
I
for
had
the rest of the
assumed that
night.
was in the top 10. It isn't in mine, but I would have assumed it was in the top 10.
I'd just be. That game is the game this year. I didn't review that game and I've still played 60, 70 hours of it. And that's rare for me
Yeah, I know.
because right. I know you got your we've all got reservations about the story. We've been there. Story's not great. It's not a story. It's not about the story in that game for me. The combat is fucking phenomenal. The world is, for me, phenomenal. I really like how everything works. You factor in the multiplayer on top of that, which I am, because I've experienced it. I've played it. I just think it's fucking fantastic. And I get that there's games that you guys are going to argue should be on there more. Ghost of Tsushima for me it's one of my, if
Well-
not my favourite game this year, and I cannot.
So The only thing I'd say there, Mick, is so the issue is that there's 2 locks. There's you and Chris White locking Ghost of Tsushima. There's myself and Adam Carroll locking Final Fantasy VII Remake, which suggests to me that we've got those 5 locks and we now need to maybe go and do the vote system. Because we can almost
Demon
make...
Souls seems to be going, doesn't it?
Yeah, because we can almost... I mean, I'm going to regret this probably, but we can always make a second
literally
table.
one game on the list that I care about, and that's Ghost of Tsushima. I really
No,
think
I
it
understand
deserves
that.
its props this year.
I would imagine, like you say, it makes a top 10. Do we want to do locks or drops?
I think we could do drops.
I think you're right.
I think.
Okay, yeah.
Resident Evil 3. Chris White?
Drop.
No,
Yeah.
Say again.
No, which one's yours?
What?
Which
I thought you
one's-
said Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the one
that's-
I would drop.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Resident Evil 3.
No. It'd be Ori.
Okie dokie. Adam Carroll? I'll come back to you if you like.
Ori.
Nick Fraser? Just say it.
You know what? I'm torn though, because it's only because of how passionate Adam's been that at this point, even if it doesn't make any much difference in the long run, I'm going to say Ori. I mean, Adam's gone to bat for Resi, and that would be the one I'd pick otherwise.
Chris,
Thanks, mate.
Chris Hyde.
I was going to say Resi 3, and I kind of feel like both Resi and Ori have to go.
I do too, but I think in that first round, I got to give it to Adam, who's really gone hell for leather on it. I can't.
Just look, Adam Cook looks like the broken shell of a man.
Well, okay.
No, it's
well,
fine.
Adam's the host, right? So he's been doing the hosty thing. He hasn't really given us the passionate thing about Ori. Like, maybe there is a reason that he really wants Ori to stick.
I can do it in 2 sentences. You said about how you didn't review Ghost of Tsushima and you put in 67 hours.
You're the same with Ori.
Of all people, you know how busy my life is. I didn't review Ori. I 100%ed Ori. But if it's cut, then so be it. It can still appear on my list when I write it.
I would have
up.
voted for that or Resi in that list because
It's been cut. 3 votes, kick it out. There's only space for 10 games, and we have 14.
Okay.
It's cut, right?
Yeah.
I'm really surprised it's cut before Resi, Demons, or Wasteland. But bye-bye, Ori.
I have suggested cutting Wasteland once or twice.
Yep. I've suggested cutting Resi 6 times.
Can we
I
please?
also have suggested Resi.
Can we please?
No, we have to go around again now, Chris. That's the way this works.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna say it again.
Can I go in a
have
different
to.
order so I get a vote this time?
Yeah, okay, well we'll start with you and I'll go last.
Resi 3.
Okay. Mick Fraser, Mick,
Resi 3.
Adam Carroll. You can't vote for Ori again. It's gone.
Wasteland 3.
Chris White.
Wasteland 3.
That's not fair. This
It's a
isn't how
3-2
it's supposed to
vote,
work
is it
as the host. You're supposed to.
I thought you had already said yours.
Well, no, we've got 2 votes for Wasteland, 2 votes for Resi 3. I think they both go because I would have voted for either of those 2 games.
Yeah.
And then we need to argue about the last cut.
Right? Is my logic wrong there?
No.
I think there's too much not negative for it because there's loads of support for all of these games, but I think they're hanging by a thread. So they
I would argue
Again,
that my
not
genuine cut
bad
there.
games.
If we want to do we can do this wave again. I would say
don't think
of
you
the
need to.
choices there, my choice would be Wasteland 3, purely because Adam spoke with enormous passion about Resident Evil 3. Honestly, Wasteland 3 is kind of amounted to me and Mick just saying it's a fantastic game, and it is. They all are. I can't give you the passion for Wasteland 3 that he's given for Resi 3 because I haven't played enough of it. I just loved what I played of it. So I should cut Wasteland 3, which gives us around 12 games. I think the thing is now we're going to go... Well, let's do it.
I think
we'll start with Chris. We'll start with Chris White. Which game are you cutting?
Demon Souls.
Okay. Adam Carroll?
Oh, fuck. Shit. Can I come? Can you come back
Yeah,
to me?
sure. Mick.
Thanks.
Mick? I mean, I just
Resi 3.
Okay, Chris Hyde.
For the third time, Resi 3.
Resi 3 for me. What?
Look, there we go.
Resi 3 for me. Sorry, man.
It made top 12, mate.
Yeah, it did all right.
All that passion. It's gone. One game needs to go. Now we really are in the business end. I can unbold those because it's literally just one game's got to go. That's it.
Oh God.
You know what I suggest from that list? I've got two.
Streets of Rage 4.
Vote again.
No, we don't need to vote now. We don't need to
No,
vote.
I would cut out of that lot Streets of Rage 4, and that is a phenomenal list with some phenomenal games on it. I don't know how you guys feel whether Streets of Rage 4 is phenomenal enough to go up against.
See, I fucking adore Streets of Rage 4.
Same, but I think
I absolutely loved it. I loved the familiarity of it, but also the influx of new moves. The like the enemies are familiar as well, but there was a lot of new stuff. It's
just you've got I get, but you've got games on there with staggering
fucking
stories,
Immortals, lads.
incredible worlds.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know
If
what
Immortals
I mean?
wasn't here,
Honestly,
We'd be
can we
done.
just say Game of the Year, Bastard of the Year
Yeah.
is Immortals.
Yeah.
just fucking cut Immortals and we go back to the list we would have had in the first place.
Yeah.
I think reading. I'd
don't-
like to hear from Adam Carroll on Streets of Rage 4 because I feel like the hinging vote here is on those two games, Streets of
So-
Rage and Demon Souls.
Oh, do you know what? Since these 11 games I'm looking at it, I'm just like, oh Jesus, this is the problem. The feelings are up and down constantly, right? And things get said and then they get changed immediately. Streets of Rage 4 is phenomenal. I think it's just so addictive, so much fun. It's just brilliant. I loved Miles Morales. I loved it. But
Do you think
the
Streets
thing
of
about it
Rage
is
4
I
stands
have-
out a bit?
I'm
Yeah.
playing Demon Souls for the first
I
time.
know. And that's fun. But do you
And that game looks, oh my God, it's just so goddamn
in
good.
terms of substance, let's boil this down to awful things. But in terms of substance, does Streets of Rage 4 stand out as the one here that is not? It's just a bit less.
For me personally, there's 10 games out of that 11 that I've played, and the one that I dropped off super fast and have never thought about again is Streets of Rage 4. But that's me, obviously. I'm a very different taste to a lot of you guys, as we know.
You've played all of. Oh no, Yakuza.
I
Yeah.
haven't played Yakuza, and I can't argue it because you guys have championed it. We haven't actually discussed Yakuza. It just
No,
No,
we
I
haven't-
was
we haven't
hoping we didn't have to.
We haven't discussed
and
Animal
I don't
Crossing,
mind that
Hades.
at all, because I get it, but I don't. I'm looking at the list.
Maybe we do need to do a cut vote. I think maybe we do. And you know what, Christopher Hyde, since you moaned about it,
I
can
do
go
like
first.
to moan. I do like a moan.
Well, don't we all? But you can go
Well,
first, mate.
Streets of Rage 4.
You give
Why did
someone
that
an
hurt?
opportunity, a platform to do something.
Oh, sorry.
and
Can I change my answer?
No,
Whatever
no.
Adam wants me to say.
Finally, he gets it. No, Streets of Rage 4. Okay,
of Rage 4,
Mick.
yeah.
Mick, you think you already
same.
said. Okay.
Streets of Rage 4. Because
Chris White. Oh, sorry. Go on, Mick. Go on.
no, I was going to say I could easily say Yakuza because I've no knowledge of it. But
No, but
from
you
hearing
know that's
guys,
just not.
pointless. And that list, everything else on that list has got me. Streets of Rage 4 hasn't.
Mr. White,
Demon Souls.
Adam.
Like
So
this,
we've got two Streets of Rage, one Demon
Yeah.
Souls.
like there's two games I want to go for, but they're not. It's not going to happen. So this is why I'm in an awful tizzy. I think I'm going to have to pick Spider-Man.
I was thinking that, and I don't like the
I think
thought.
that's when I'm going to have to go with it. Yeah, but Jesus Christ, it's so good.
It's the diminishing returns thing for me. I look at every other game on this list, and I think Marvel Spider-Man is the only one that when I started it, I was like, I have played, and it does add, it does do new stuff. Oh, by Christ, that's a fun game.
Come on, man. I've gone New Game Plus now, and I'm still enjoying it, and I'm just replaying it again after 100% in it I've gone back to New Game Plus to get like the new outfits and the new stuff that you can't get unless you play New Game Plus. And I'm seeing things that I didn't notice the first time, and I adore it. But it's a democracy, so.
See, I'm torn because I want to go Streets of Rage 4 because I feel like that one's had the most kicks against it, and it just feels like the sort of slightest game. But I can't pretend like those are the Streets of Rage was my jam, man. When I was a little kid, and Streets of Rage 3 was shit, and Streets of Rage 4 is so fucking good. Like Chris, you and I played it through. I think in a sitting, and you're nodding, Chris Hyde. I'm talking to both of you. I think I've done that with both of you in one sitting. Mikhail, who used to work for us, I went through the game with him on Switch. I can't vote for Streets of Rage 4. They had no right to make that game that good or relevant. It was done. Streets of Rage was gone. Sega weren't interested. It was gone. It was a relic. The soundtrack, the visuals, when I first saw them, made me go, oh, I mean, I know you've got to differentiate yourself from the originals, but when I played it and there was emotion and the soundtrack and the feel of that game, I can't vote for Streets of Rage 4.
I think...
But I don't think we can go Demon Souls because the more I think about that, the more I think the same thing. The same thing they had. They've maybe they had earned the right to have a go at it.
You know what game on that list didn't shock anyone, didn't surprise anyone, came out, it's fantastic, not going to knock it, brilliant game. I've been enjoying it, I haven't played much of it. The game on there that I think has moved individuals among us least is probably Miles Morales. It's a good game. It's a fantastic game.
For me, just by proxy of it being a known entity.
Yeah, we think it's fantastic. I'm not going to take away from Chris White. I know, man, because you're with me on Ghost of Tsushima. And
everyone goes on about Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse, okay, which I won't deny is a terrific film. People talk about it like it is like the second coming, that level of thing. I never felt that about Miles until this game, which has made me want to go back and watch Into the Spider-Verse again. Yeah. But as a video game, complete the sentence.
You know what, though? It's not the game. Like, let's start from the top, just real briefly. I'll be really brief if I can. But Astro's Playroom, we know, all of us went, that's brilliant. If any one of us suggested cutting that, the others would fight for it, right? At least 2, maybe 3 people would fight to keep that game on. Last of Us Part 2 is a given. One of the greatest games, probably, of the generation. And I'll say that with my issues with it. Hades, we've loved through that entire podcast. We've loved Hades. We've championed it for this, that, the other. Miles Morales is one that I don't think anyone yet has gone to bat for, really. I think me and Adam had a bit of a thing about the visuals, day one. But beyond that, I don't think that game... I think that game is the one that we're probably least passionate about as a group, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm wrong on that. You guys can tell me if I am. But I think Miles Morales, again, Spider-Man's my favourite fucking comic book character by a mile. Whether it's Peter Parker, Miles Morales, I love that universe. I love that character. I love the way the stories are told. I 100%ed Marvel Spider-Man. I intend to 100% Miles Morales. I fucking love it. I just think it's a number 11. And that's because I can't take away from Yakuza, and I can't take away from you guys with Streets of Rage 4. It's not for me, but I can't knock Streets of Rage 4.
If someone could maybe suggest another cut that isn't Streets of Rage that keeps Miles Morales, I'd hear it. But I
You know what the other one I would cut? If I had to cut anything, if I had to, if you put a gun to my head and said, we're keeping Streets of Rage 4, we're keeping Yakuza, we're keeping Miles Morales, blah, 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 I'd probably cut Immortals. And I tell you that, I only say that because we've talked about how derivative it is and how much it borrows. And
so's Miles Morales. It literally is. They use the same map.
Hey, I've got no dog in that fight, man. You said put a cut forward.
I'm just saying maybe I am alone in that, but I can't see the top 10 of this game. I can't see a list without Immortals on it. I just can't.
I love Immortals. Don't get me wrong. I'm still playing it now. I think it's absolutely deserving of it. But I'd suggest
I nearly said, well,
Yakuza or
listen,
Streets of Rage. But...
You've got to have Immortals on there, and I nearly was going to say you've got to celebrate originality. That's not the right. That's not the right argument, is it? That's not the right argument.
It is nice to have a new IP on there.
That's kind of what I mean.
But
I'm so Ubisoft are a developer. I really like their video games. I tend to always enjoy them, but they've become, I think, a massively known quantity to the level of being a bit sterile and stale. Immortals is anything but. It's full of life and fresh and fucking.
It won that, didn't it?
Also, it's a Ubisoft game that isn't full of swearing and edgelord shit and guns. It's different. And don't get me wrong, I would have rather they brought out Beyond Good and Evil 2 this year, but where that game is, nobody knows. But otherwise, meanwhile, while they're making all of those, and let's face it, even if they went back to the well, it would be Splinter Cell finally. They are such a known quantity. This is not that. It reminds me of, do you remember when Grow Home came out? And that was this tiny little Ubisoft game that someone in the studio was making. They thought, oh, that's pretty good. And it's it shows the creativity, not to suggest for a second that Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs aren't creative, but there's just, it doesn't feel like it's by Ubisoft. It feels different, yet obviously familiar. I can't see a list without Immortals on it.
Again, we've hit a point where the one that people are not championing for me loud enough is Miles Morales.
Chris was. Is.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's
an
I haven't
impasse.
got it in me enough.
Well, that's neither here nor there.
Dirty bitch.
Thank you. That's twice. It's not.
We
It's an ugly cut.
We need to start putting some semblance of orders together, and that's the only game out of all five of us where it's like Mick said, it's not being fought over. So, I think that seems to be the game that has to go.
Hovering over the button.
It's like, I mean, we all said Demon Souls earlier, but like Adam said, that's a different game for him, having never played the original, and I can't take away from what Blue Point have done with that game.
It's also worth noting that Demon Souls has basically universal acclaim.
Yeah,
there's not like an outlier saying, oh, it's like a derivative or they fucked this up. It is out. It is just. I mean, even if it hits number 10,
I think Streets of Rage hits 10 now, doesn't it?
Or Demon Souls for me.
Given what we're just saying,
I would.
Can I have 2 minutes? You can carry on without me, but I need 2 minutes.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah.
Just
go. It's fine. It's fine. Just go, Mick.
Sounded like he was going then.
Right, now he's gone. Can we swap Spider-Man back in and Demon Souls? See if he notices.
Can I?
I mean, this list is to me completely wrong at the moment. Like completely.
What do you mean?
Like then sometimes when you knock them down to 10, you're like, oh, that's not far, and it's not. It's not close to me.
What, you mean the order?
Yeah, like sometimes. Sometimes when we cut them down to the 10, we finally we have the 10. You're like, oh, that doesn't look. No, it just looks completely wrong.
Yeah, that's not right. Yeah.
I think. See, I wouldn't have Streets of Rage at 9, but the general consensus seems to be lower down the list. I'm quite happy to move Yakuza to 9 or even 10 because I love it. I absolutely adore that game, and it's one of the best of the year. However, with a lack of people who I know me, Chris, and Adam have all played it,
but I haven't played enough of it.
But I don't think it would sit anywhere higher than 8. And I'm more willing to make sure other games are nearer the top than Yakuza. And Mick hasn't played it. He's
right.
But yeah.
Okay.
I'd be more happy having Streets of Rage at 8. And
Okay.
Yakuza at 9, I think.
Chris Hyde, before I do that.
I mean, I was promoting to cut Streets of Rage at 11, so I think it's clear where I think Streets of Rage should be.
Did that night mean nothing to you, Chris?
What's that? No, but I mean, it was a special night, but that's probably the lion's share. That's the lion's share of that game that I have played. Like, I bounced off it very quickly, not intentionally. So I'm not devastated. I'm interested to see where the top 7 land, because there's a couple of games in there I haven't played. So I'm gonna have to stay quiet for a couple of them. But yeah, it's gonna get spicy, I think.
Astro's Playroom is not number one, right?
No.
Okay,
No,
it's an incredible game. It is in the top 10, but at the moment it's just sitting on that list at number one, and it is not number one. It's just not number one. It's brilliant.
Sorry, guys.
Would it be mad to suggest that actually it's number 10?
Which one? Sorry, 'cause
Astro's Playroom. It was always a lock, and we knew it was in there for the
I
discussion.
think it's fair. I think it's a fair position for. There's no way none of us thought, like we did not, none of us thought that this was going to happen, that this would reach the top 10. And I think that's where it, like that, truthfully, that's the biggest surprise.
Yes.
Is probably Astro's Playroom.
I mean, it got biggest surprise, didn't it?
No. I don't think it did,
No,
did
I
it?
can't remember. I'll go and look back.
Nice
Yeah,
the
it did.
surprise.
Yeah, it
Number
did.
one, Astro's Player.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, like that, number 10, put it in there. Like, because there's a lot backing that with the dual sense and all that stuff. So it's kind of, the game wouldn't be as good if it wasn't for the fucking technology as well. So.
And I want a full game of it. I want like a full.
Well, of course, definitely.
I think it is a full game. I mean, with the speed
Oh, it's
runs
big
and
enough
everything.
because you can go
Yeah.
back through it and yeah.
I got the platinum on it actually. It's
There you
great
go.
fun.
That's what I mean.
Can I suggest number 9?
Sure.
We all loved it. Obviously, we all loved it.
Steady.
We all loved it, but I think it's where it's at. Immortals should be 9.
I disagree.
Nah.
Immortals at the end of the day, lads, is Zelda. It is Breath of the Wild. I don't care
Streets
how.
of Rage 4 is Streets of Rage. Demon
No,
Souls
that's
is
not.
Demon Souls.
Streets of Rage is a fucking series of its own. Immortals just saw Breath of the Wild, and it even what Chris said with the ending, and I still have to finish Immortals. It is the end of Breath of the Wild, and that to me, the fact that can make it into the top 10 alone is a huge achievement. But it just goes to show you that Zelda Breath of the Wild is unreal. But it's great. Immortals is great. It's amazing. But like, I can understand the passion for it. But everything that I've played of it so far, it is Zelda, and I'm like, this is the best Ubisoft game I've played this year. And that's that. But like, it's still in the top 10.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Combat is a million times better.
yeah.
It's
Combat is
exceptional.
better, yeah.
The combat's better. The fact that I haven't finished Zelda, right? Like there are a lot of people that won't have played it because they might own a Switch.
It was on Wii U,
Shadows.
just for the record.
But
I prefer this to Zelda. I'm sorry, shoot me if you wish. But I do. I think it's
I
got
love
the quality of life stuff.
it. I just love the character. I love the narration is excellent. Like minus all the little jokes, it's great to see the evolution of Zeus. If anything, like
I would
Don't from this-
accept outside of the top 5.
yeah,
Wait, say that again.
I would accept it being outside of the top 5,
Yeah, I would.
but I would be looking at 7 or 8 bottom. I think people were looking to cut Demon Souls and Streets of Rage.
Yeah.
So if you, I mean, like, again, not great radio, but if I was to put this like that, so oh crap, like so, when we would agree on what we seem to have 11 now. I have
Yeah, you
kept
need
it
to
more than
delete.
twice.
You need to delete number
Yeah.
4. There you go.
We accept. I can bold that. We've accepted that. That's number 10. I think Demon Souls, Streets of Rage 4. We need to make sure we're okay with that. I don't think Immortals goes below them.
No, I don't.
I think that Adam, I know what you're saying, but I also feel, like I said on the podcast, you weren't on it to be fair, but there are people. I've been thinking about this again since doing that podcast. There are people I know who I feel like Immortals has to get past, like like an age check almost. Are you 18? Are you acceptable? And I feel like that's yourself. I feel Chris Hyde. I feel Mikhail Madnani from the site. I feel like, and I'm one of them. There are 4 people that if that game doesn't get past in terms of we're happy with what it is, we accept it is wholesale borrowing of Zelda Breath of the Wild. They didn't just get past all 4 of them. It made it into their top 10s. So I think just saying what you've said, I take that on board. But you actually were the biggest one who I thought, I'm going to recommend this. But you were the one where I'm like, he might find this too much of a rip-off because you love Breath of the Wild in a way that even I can't come with you on. So to drop it to 9, given it passed that test, it's the game I have enjoyed kind of just like chilling out with, and this in the year we've had. Well, it's the second most game I've enjoyed chilling out with, to be fair, on this list. But you know what I mean.
That's fine if you want to higher than cool. I'm happy that it's here in the top 10, but like, yeah,
Ghost of Tsushima needs to be discussed as to where we feel that goes on this list.
Can I just suggest?
Yes,
I think those bottom 4 are spot on, and I would also suggest Yakuza goes no higher.
See, I would swap a personal list. Ghost of Tsushima would drop below Immortals for me, and then I would go with what you've said. So then you go Ghost, Immortals, Yakuza, and that's your bottom 5.
See, but I wouldn't have Final Fantasy right in my top 5 personal preference.
Okay.
Ghost, not even at 5. I would put Ghost higher.
Okay.
At number 4. I think Ghost of Tsushima does so many things so well, and we have talked about it so much, but it's because there's so much to talk about. Like, it does combat excellently, it does stealth excellently. The story, yeah, okay, and Jin Sakai might not be the best character, but the style of it, like not just in the fighting in the confrontations or the cinematography of that, it's like the little things, like some of the side quests where you get those paintings, like the famous Japanese paintings that exist from like years and years ago, where you've got that in the corner of your screen and you're trying to, like there's like 3 separate mountain sizes on it, and there's some grass and moss and bonsai trees and whatnot. You've got to then use that in the environment to see where it is.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's not just an open world. There's so much to it, and like the world itself is so diverse and so beautiful that there's so much there that makes it easily for me top 4. Like it's incredible. It's an incredible game. Like, and yes, the story might not be great, but then there's all the other fucking side quests that are amazing, and it's like.
And I will note that
world.
I don't think the story's bad. I just don't think it was near the best.
I think it's very average. I have to.
It is a kind
very
of average, but I don't
story.
think it's a bad story. I think it is what it is for the. It tells a story. It's a revenge thing. It's a whatever.
But like, it shouldn't be knocked for its story. Like, I know we're not knocking it.
I don't think you can knock it because I haven't gone. Oh, another story. I haven't felt like that. I did. I felt like the entire game hinged on the world and the exploration. I felt the story was really I think
poor.
some of the side stories are fantastic. I think some of those,
I won't disagree there. I just think the main story really poor. Like
the guy
even
with
the
the apprentice that's gone rogue and that sort of stuff.
But again, I felt I personally felt that was quite poor. It often amounted to just following him to somewhere, doing stuff. What I liked about that game was being left alone to explore that beautiful, beautiful world. Following that guy to each mission and then just slaughtering everyone every time. It's in the top 10. I mean, I'm not arguing it shouldn't be.
I'd like it in the top 5 somewhere, even if it's 5.
Can I suggest something crazy? That I know this is not going to work for people listening, but if you swap 2 and 3, I wouldn't be unhappy with that list.
I mean, I totally agree with that. I'll do that for you, Chris, just for you.
Thanks.
I still don't like number 1, but there's no point me even commenting on that.
I'm going to suggest something radical.
I don't think I'm going to get what I want ultimately, but
I'm going to suggest this, and you listen. The middle of that, I think. Right, I'm just going to fucking say it. I think if you swap number 4 with number 5, and then number 1 with number 2, we're done.
Oh, you went there, you legend.
I agree.
I would love that, but I thought I was going to be the only person to suggest it.
I've been thinking about this for months and months and
number
months.
2 isn't even on my personal list because... And it's because I dropped off it so hard. And
we need to tell people what those games were because they can't. So number 4, I was suggesting to swap Ghost of Tsushima to 5th, and then for me, I actually don't really mind either Yakuza or Immortals. I feel should be above Ghost of Tsushima. I don't mind which. I think Ghost of Tsushima sounds like the quintessential 5th place game. Personally speaking,
I'm happy to do that.
I was suggesting that The Last of Us Part 2 is the second best game of the year. Yeah. Now, if we could give joint winner, I would do that. I just think about the impact Animal Crossing had on me, my family, the
All of
gaming
us.
populace as general, the
site.
site.
The site.
I just think about that. Now, I think The Last of Us 2 is one of the best games I've played in a great many years, so it doesn't make any sense what I'm saying. It doesn't. But I'm an emotional mind guy, and I just...
See, I don't like Last of Us 2 as much as you guys do. It's fair to say.
You should have mentioned that at some point, mate.
Yeah, that's not come up, mate.
What did that never get?
Okay, but
It's like
it's
me.
because...
I mean, obviously everyone knows Cyberpunk's my favourite game of the year, so I mean, it's not come up. It just doesn't come up.
The thing is about The Last of Us Part 2, though, is that I can't knock the game. The game, it has a technical fucking marvel, right? It's fucking and I will say it's so fucking polished. It's so well put together. It's so well acted, but I have fucking major issues with one of the protagonists. I have major issues with the pacing of the game. I think the game is so fucking drawn out, and I like it, but to a certain point, I think a lot of it is just big dick energy. It's just we can just stretch this out to 30 hours because we can, and it didn't need it. And I think it would have had more impact on me had it been a 16-hour, 17-hour game. But I'm not going to take away from it because I know you guys are very passionate about it. I know that the world it's been the most divisive game of the year or the decade or the generation.
Let me ask a question. Are we all in agreement that the whatever order it is, number 1 and 2, those are the two games?
I think those are the top two.
100%, yes.
Chris White?
Yeah.
Adam Carroll's shaking his head.
Not a hope.
So what's your number 2 then?
I don't know what my number fucking 2 is right there. Like, there's this... Look, I don't know. Lads, I think Animal Crossing is just not good. Like, I'm sorry, I know you're all there fucking loving it and shit like that. The criticisms towards The Last of Us Part 2, I'm just like, I can kind of respect it, but then I'm
No, but I'm saying that's in the 1-2.
Yeah, I know it is.
But what's the other game then? If you're saying Last of Us wins it, what's 2?
If I had to pick one right there, it's Final Fantasy 7. That would be my number 2. That's my number 2, and that'd be it. But it's not going to happen that way. I knew that Animal Crossing was coming this way.
You could put Animal Crossing anywhere on that list for me.
I just think like I'm just going to say, right? Can I just say about The Last of Us Part 2? What the fuck do people expect? Like, I am sick shit of the year that it's been, and people with The Last 2 saying it's too bleak. They didn't like characters.
But none of us have said that.
But this is what I'm hearing overall. Like, it's too depressing for people. Like, Last of Us 2 took, in storytelling, some of the biggest risks ever created. Hands down. No matter what you say.
Paid off, though. It doesn't.
No.
It did take risks, but it's not.
The combat was completely
chunkiest pacing and character choices.
But if we're talking about pacing, I know it's a different game completely. Animal Crossing does not respect your fucking time.
I can't argue it. That's why I dropped off Animal Crossing.
Like, you spend hours. People have spent hours.
I must just be like Stockholm syndrome because I just never had a problem with it. It was what Animal Crossing has been to me since I first played them. Like the every version of it. It was everything I wanted, but a HD.
It's part of me with people pleasing Animal Crossing because I know that there was no point arguing it to a point. But I mean, every game I've played on that list I've enjoyed more than Animal Crossing. But Animal Crossing did something that none of those games have done. So at the same time, the pace is glacial. It doesn't really have a story. All that stuff. But I do think that Animal Crossing did something that no other game has done this year, in that it brought so many people together in so many ways.
But you could say that about fucking any Nintendo title in ways. Like, that's what Nintendo are about.
But not for me, though. I mean, there's people like me. I don't even like Nintendo. I'm not even a fan of Nintendo, particularly of their back catalogue. But Animal Crossing, I'm not arguing with you. I don't think Animal Crossing necessarily should be number 2 on the list.
Like, there's absolutely there's no story in Animal Crossing, and I'm not saying that means it shouldn't be there, but
I feel
The
like you're,
last- the-
I
the
feel like you're
last-
criticizing Animal Crossing for the things it was never intended to be, though.
But,
Like,
Animal Crossing, it's so repetitive. It is so repetitive. And I just can't see, like, oh, it's so nice. It's so blah, blah, blah. Okay. It is nice. It looks pretty. It's fun. It's funny looking. It has charm. But Jesus, it's like, is this the only game they want me to play for the rest of my life? Because, like, it just doesn't
Kinda.
have depth for me. Like, it's just fucking like, as I said this before, I understand where you're coming from, where you all have it, right? You all have kids. It maybe adds a little bit to it, but you can't say like Animal Crossing is game of the year without mentioning just for the year that it's been with my
I
children,
haven't
with my
mentioned that
family, what it
once,
brought together.
and I have during this year removed that from reviews where people have written because it's not relevant. The video game is the video game. It definitely had brilliant timing. They didn't plan it. That was when it was coming out. It was just happenstance and fortuitousness. I've removed it when people say, "Oh, and in this year where all the..." Mick will vouch for me. I have removed that
Adam,
from
right?
multiple reviews before they've gone live.
Not to bring it back up in ways, but just in comparison, right? This is where when you said you played 10 hours of Spiritfarer and you just wanted something to happen, that game was offering you story eventually, whenever you wanted it, and it had similar aspects to Animal Crossing. But
Right, but it didn't. Animal Crossing doesn't have a story. There's no. It's my story.
I know that, but that's what makes, to me, the game even like, what the fuck am I doing this
But
for?
it never had a story. Like Animal Crossing has never had a story. The story is your.
But I know,
story.
but that's the criticism that could be made towards something like Spiritfarer. But then Animal Crossing can be like, I put 40 hours into Animal Crossing, and I was like, I'm done. I am done.
That's a lot of hours.
It's a lot of hours because I was kind of going, when is this going to eventually become a thing? I got to a stage where I was like, I feel like I've just done the game, and
See, I just enjoyed the
But that's
routine of it,
fine.
having been not at work at the time, like
what
a lot
you're
of people weren't. And
but
I
what-
wouldn't have even played this game if it hadn't been
But
for
what
what
Adam's
happened
just
this year.
said there, I don't take issue with. I also don't see the problem with that. 40 hours is a good amount of value to get out of
But
a
I
game.
just don't. So are we saying here that there's that literally like majority of Animal Crossing New Horizons is literally just like a game that doesn't do anything really wrong? Because there can be more criticisms put towards The Last of Us, apparently.
I'm not disagree. I would not be against The Last of Us winning this at all. Like literally every 5 minutes of recording this, I've gone, I'm going to go for the Animal Crossing. No, I'm going. Literally, I'm thinking maybe Last of Us is the winner. Every 5 minutes, they are two games I reviewed both of. I gave both 10 out of 10s. I would stand by and fight for those 10 out of 10s. And I have no issue with it winning. But I do think they miss the spoiler cast alone. It is a story heavy action adventure game, and it makes missteps, and there are things it doesn't nail. I still think it's a 10 out of 10. I'm fine with Animal Crossing going at number 2. But it sounds like you don't want it even at number 2.
I fucking don't want the game near the fucking top 10. Like, it's just.
But it's not.
But that's going to happen. But
no.
I think it's mad that like, for Chris White and Mick to accept like Ghost of Tsushima being at 4, which then that feels to me like that's one of their games of the year.
My game of the year, yeah.
It's like, that's a fight to be had. Hades is sitting at 3. We haven't really touched upon the gameplay of it
but
at
we
all.
have mentioned Hades a lot this week.
Yeah,
it's
but
been a contender all the way through.
Every other game that's in this top 10, when I'm looking at it, are far more exciting to play as a video game.
Why has a game got to be exciting to be in this list?
Because if a game is boring, you're not going to play it.
Why is it boring? It's just relaxing. I would play Animal Crossing to relax.
I'd argue that if it's boring, why would you have played it for 40 hours?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have been bored. You must have been a gamer like yourself. You must have been engaged at some point in that game.
Because you can't. Because I was willing to drive on to see where this would go, and if it was going. Because I put so much time into the GameCube Animal Crossing back in this, so I was like, okay, here we go. These games don't. They haven't expanded enough. when people go on about things like Breath of the Wild, for example, when they go on about weapon durability and shit, they fucking shat all over it. Yet everyone can accept your shovel's breaking, and then you have to fucking go back and go loading screens into the thing and get this. All those elements of gameplay.
I think there's a difference though, because with Breath of the Wild, you break your weapon and it's a weapon you like. In this, it's a shovel. You just go and make another one in a few seconds. Or
it's
buy
not
one.
a few seconds. There's so much. When you go to Bladders, I say it every time, Bladders, things like that, the dialogue, he's asleep, whoo, and you have to go, oh, come on, I've read all this. There's features that should be in that
There's
game.
quality of life things they could have improved in it, for sure. But
if you feel it's number 2, cool, but fuck. Like,
I tell you what, I had Animal Crossing was on my top 10 months ago. And it was one of the first things that I took off the list this year. I get Animal Crossing, like what I get how Adam's saying about it. I watched the Twitter discourse and everyone was going nuts, and I was in amongst it. I was doing my screenshots and look what I got and this, that, and the other, and I loved it. But I will say that, I don't really like The Last of Us Part 2 all that much in terms of its story. I just don't, and I can't explain fully why. I don't even think
you haven't finished it though, Mick, and I not to throw you under the car. It does to me
it's
because
not going to change to me. I've
delivery.
I've played near enough 20 hours of it. I know the mechanics. I know what's going to happen. I've seen everything that happens. I've watched the cutscenes. I don't need to play a shooty bang bang bit.
I really
see the emotional cutscene because I've played the shooty bang bang bits in that.
But it's the tension of those of the gameplay sections.
I'm not knocking the gameplay. I'm knocking the story. I don't like fucking Ellie in that game. She pisses me off every time she opens her fucking mouth. I really think you should finish it,
and I've said that to you before.
I don't need to see Ellie's character change. I don't like it that much, and I'm not knocking it from. I haven't argued where you put it on the list.
Unless you have literally watched the cutscenes on YouTube of that game, which makes no sense because you could have played them.
I don't think everybody has finished every game that we've discussed this year. So I think it's fucking.
No, but I'm saying that when we're talking about the best game of the year, and 4 people are suggesting it might be The Last of Us, you're saying you don't need to finish it.
I'm saying I don't think it is personally. I'm not arguing where it goes on the list.
Yeah, but I'm saying you haven't finished it, so I think you might change your tune. Is what I'm saying.
I don't think I will, because I tell you what, it's not compelling me to finish it. Why would I have not? I fucking put 70 hours into Ghost of Tsushima. I'm halfway through the story. I'm loving it. I can't even be asked to play The Last of Us Part 2 past where I am.
I can't do anything about that though.
No, but that's what I'm saying. So it's no good saying you've got to force yourself to finish it and then you'll feel differently. If I have to force myself to finish it...
No, but you're saying it's bad or the story's bad, and I'm saying you haven't seen the end of the story personally and felt how it feels in the moment. That's all I'm saying, is that you keep saying it's not very good, the story's got problems. It has got problems. I don't think it's perfect.
It's not that. I don't like it. I don't like the tone. I like the game. I like the mechanics. I like it's not, for me, it's not my...
that's fair.
And I don't want to take away from it. I'm not saying it's bad, for fuck's sake. I'm not saying anything about that. But for me personally, I don't feel what a lot of people felt with it. And that's
totally fine, Mick. That's where I'm at with Animal Crossing. I'm the only one here who's not accepting it.
The only person we haven't heard from here is Chris White. And he was shaking his head when I suggested the opposite of what's on this list.
I cannot see Last of Us not at number 1.
And that's fine. I feel like I feel the question is, where's 2? What's 2?
For me, it is Animal Crossing. Because you take away the playing with other people. Like, I've played hundreds of hours on my own as well. And
also, I never played Animal Crossing with other people, and I still like.
I played it for 3 weeks on my own because it was review build, and it never bothered me that I couldn't. Well, I played a bit of co-op locally, but
the routine of it, like
70 hours into that as well in the lockdown. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just I know, like, ignore the fact that this bit of shit here. It could have been released any year, but it gives you an escape from everything, and you enjoy the routine of it. There's a lot to do if you're willing to give it the time. And like I know they're fucking computer game characters, man, but your islanders become a family. I know that's really stupid to say, but what I will say is that I never realized how much I cared for them. And I don't want to bring personal stuff and try and load it on so we get it at number 2. But what I will say is when I got burgled this year, the Switch went and my Animal Crossing save went. And it was shit losing everything. But the moment I realised that I wasn't going to see Drago my little crocodile dragon friend again. It was genuinely upsetting, man. And like, I went on eBay and bought the amiibo card, got him back on the island, but it's just not the same. And like just the characters that I check in now. Like, I don't spend hours on it. I spend about, if any more than 10 minutes, if that, a day. But it's still very much my island. I'm still very much connected to it, and I appreciate the fact that they still add to it. Like they make things about different events in the world. Like we couldn't go out, so we celebrated Halloween together. In Animal Crossing, we couldn't do this on a certain day. We couldn't celebrate Easter, so we did it on Animal Crossing. It's a nice escape, whether you're on your own or with family. And I think not everyone's going to agree on these top two, but I think the general consensus is that these two games are monumental this year and stand above everything else as a collective, that we have to decide where these two go. Because I think they are the top two. I don't see anything else going above it. No one's going to argue for anything else.
Adam's sheer dislike for Animal Crossing and like for The Last of Us means that on this list currently, 8, 9, and 10 done. 1 and 2, I think, and 3 done. 4, 5, and 6 just needs to be checked, and I think that's it. I don't see anyone shifting The Last of Us from where it is.
I would personally switch Yakuza with Immortals.
I would be fine with that.
I'd be
But
fine
I
with
think
that.
Ghosts. I mean, I think it deserves to be there, to be honest. But
So, hang on. So that. Oop! Just hit the search bar by mistake. Don't need that. So that's what you're suggesting.
yeah,
Well, what's the feeling in the room here?
Final Fantasy at 7.
So where do you want it?
I would put Final Fantasy at 5.
Yeah.
Again, I'm fine with that.
I would. I think Immortals is great, but I do think it's derivative, guys, and
It
I do
is.
think I don't think it would be what it is if it wasn't for Breath of the Wild
Okay.
existing. Whereas I think
All right.
Final
sorry, mate.
Fantasy 7 is they took risks with it.
Yep.
And it's fucking phenomenal. We all everyone who's played it has liked it.
By the sounds of it, I feel because of Yakuza taking a different
You want to talk about taking risks? Turn-based RPG.
regarding the gameplay and stuff and what they went for, I think that deserves to be at least at 6 by the sounds of it.
I am also fine with that.
I mean, for what it's worth, I also don't think I'd have Animal Crossing at 2 on this list, but that's where we are. Hades, we've barely really talked about Hades today, I know, but
we have genuinely talked about that
and
probably
we all
more than
genuinely
most other
like
games.
Hades. Like, we really think Hades is.
There's not
deserving
much
of
left to
list.
talk about with Hades. Like, we have
No, and I
dissected
just-
that game.
I really wanted Ghost in the top 5. I'm happy,
Which it is.
which being at 4. I really wanted to see Astro's Playroom in the top 10, which is. I mean, that list for me, I'm not comfortable 100% with 1 and 2, but it's not my list, right? And you guys have. I mean, I can't argue with either of those games. I really can't. I can't argue with Animal Crossing. It's just, I played it non-stop for weeks. I fell off it, but as a game of this year that I played, it's banging. I think the only question on that list for me, the only question mark on that list is Yakuza, and that's because I haven't played it. As that list stands, I could just whack Yakuza in 5 and go, I've not played it, so it's not the best or the worst of the 10 for me.
I just want to say as well that, like, out of all the years to be doing this podcast, I think The Last of Us 2 was the one where it was just like, okay, game of the year. It's
The other 9.
It's just like, that's number 1. I don't
That's
care.
why I was dreading this list, and because I thought I knew I wasn't going to argue against it too much, but I knew that I felt differently from you. And it's not. I'm not hating on it, really, guys.
No,
I'm
and I
not,
totally get it.
I get what Adam's saying, that I should experience for myself. I might feel differently, but my argument is that every other game I've played on that list has compelled me to play it more than last, and that for whatever reason that is, maybe it's what Adam said to me the other day when we were talking, and I'm just a fanboy of Joel in the first game. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's purely that I didn't want this sequel. I didn't want another Last of Us game. I was done.
Are we there?
I think we're there.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a yes. Yeah, okay. I would swap Ghost and Final Fantasy, but it's not happening, so whatever.
I would agree, but it's not happening.
It's not happening. It's done. We're done. Okay? Finished? Sorted?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shall I read it?
Yes.
Yes.
Astro's Playroom in 10. In 9th, Demon Souls. In 8th... Fucking hell. In 8th place, Streets of Rage 4. In 7th, Immortals Phoenix Rising. In 6th, Yakuza Like a Dragon. In 5th, Final Fantasy VII Remake. In 4th, Ghost of Tsushima. 3rd place is Hades. The runner-up for Game of the Year 2020 is Animal Crossing New Horizons. And Game of the Year 2020 is The Last of Us Part 2. And that's it. Sigh of relief time. Double figures.
Can I just say what a cracking year of games to rattle through those 10. Like you say, stronger 10 maybe than last year. That's a cracking 10.
I mean, it was a strong 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we came into this knowing that we were going to lose some games that we loved, and we did. All of us did. And
oh, Ori. Resi
Ori
3.
went, Desperados went, Resi 3 went.
They all went. They all went, bar those 10.
They're all still kind of friends.
And as usual, by the end of it, everyone's a bit like...
You're shell-shocked and battle-weary.
But congratulations to Naughty Dog. Congratulations to everyone, really. Us as well. Actually, congratulations to all of you guys and myself for being here for all of these hours, for all of these deliberations. It's been tremendous fun. I adore you guys. I love doing this. It's been brilliant. But that is it, really. All that really remains to be said is to say thank you to Christopher White.
Thank you.
Thank you to Christopher Hyde.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you to Adam Carroll.
Thank you all.
And to Mick Fraser.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It has been a tremendous year for video games. It really has. There's nothing else that we can say that you haven't heard for 10 plus hours. If you haven't realised that we like games and there's been some good ones this year, don't know what to tell you. It's, yeah, do subscribe if this is your first thing, or you don't normally, or you just discovered us and, oh, look, I enjoyed that. That was fun. We do it every year. We do another podcast every week. In fact, you can hear that early via patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, which indeed you will have heard these early. We trust our Patreons with the Game of the Year podcasts. If you're hearing this on Christmas Day, fair enough. Do what you got to do on Christmas Day, but the Patreons heard it a couple of days ago. They're in the know. ITK. YouTube.com/GodIsAGeek if you're just listening via audio. GodIsAGeek.com is our website, and of course Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's all there. God is a Geek. Thank you for supporting us for the whole year. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you to the new people who've come along. Thank you even to the people who bothered to comment to tell us that fuck you, basically. We'll take it all on board. We'll take it all on board. We take all those things and we go, well, that's not a very nice thing you just said, but at least you took the time to write it out. And on that note, if you are listening Christmas Day, have an eggnog on us. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. If you're listening later, same thing, but just in the past. Thank you very much for listening. It's been a tremendous Game of the Year podcast and a tremendous year. We will speak to you sometime in 2021 or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye, everybody. See you later.